Very good morning, everyone. It's been one heck of a season from Miami to Dubai. We find ourselves here wrapping it all up. If I could, of all of you, ask for your very favorite moment from the whole season. You can choose any race, any moment. It doesn't have to be something that anyone else would see, just for you personally. Maybe we'll start with you, Taylor. What stood out to you?
Can I go fourth, please?
Okay, fine. Absolutely.
She needs a little bit of time to warm up for Taylor.
All right, fine. We'll give you some room to warm up. Marten, it's got to be you. Come on, you're out there. Give us your favorite moment.
I think it must be the sprint finish that I had with Kyle and Rico in San Francisco. I think that that's what the revolution of T100 is about. You know, like it's long distance racing, but it's so close, and I think that's something that hasn't been seen much in the past, and now it's almost every time happening like that. So for me, it's definitely that moment that stands out.
Carl, can you share that emotion, or how are you feeling a few weeks later?
That was exactly what I was going to say. But actually, the one was jumping off the boat in Alcatraz. I think it's pretty novel. Something that I've always wanted to do as a fan of the sport, like jumping off that boat from Alcatraz and swimming that famous swim. It was pretty epic, and also it was a pretty short one, so makes it a bit sweeter.
Absolutely.
Nice bit of current that day, wasn't there?
Ash, why don't you tell us, what's a positive memory that you'll take from this season?
There was a couple, but I mean, London for me was a great race as a whole, but starting the year off for me in Singapore was really great. I mean, it wasn't my best complete race by any means, but to be able to kind of come back in that heat, I was definitely feeling like in my comfort zone. It was an easy trip from Australia. I was kicking off the T100 series, and yeah, that was a super nice moment for me. And my parents and a few other supporters were able to actually come and watch that, and that's pretty rare for me these days. That was super nice.
Yeah, I remember bumping into parents there. It's always nice having your family. You've got your dad here, Taylor.
Yeah.
Tell us of the whole season. I mean, you obviously had a long season. You had Olympics in between there. You had everything to go with it. What's your favorite moment of the T100 season?
I actually think my start in Las Vegas. This sounds really small, but like I'm not a very good starter. I don't really have like explosion, and so I just kind of like got out, and I was very shocked. And so I think just like being able to execute something really well is special. And I don't know why it went well, but I just kind of got out. So it's like
surprising
a fine
moment.
detail.
So can I flip this question slightly that Jan started us with and go for your favourite or your most impressed, the most impressed you were by some performance that was not your own? So choose, it doesn't have to be a win, just something that you saw this season that you thought was really impressive. Seeing as we started with you first, we'll go with you again.
Well, maybe then the one that's really fresh in the memory is that Rico gave me a really hard time yesterday. And I think that, he's been
impressive.
kind of a guy that everyone wrote him up a couple times already, you know, like became world champion Ironman 70.3 last year. And I think wasn't really in the picture until that sprint with me and Kyle in San Fran. And then everyone's like, yeah, but Rico, he can't do it in the heat.
We said it in commentary a few times, and
then
he did
yesterday I was like, what is happening here? You know, like I mean, the guy clearly figured it out, and I think he really showed that he's gonna be a big one in the next year. So I'm really excited for him, and I think that was for me him backing that up. That makes me happy for him, and it's kind of standout.
It's exciting for the battles we might see in the future as well.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Carl?
Yeah, I was going to say like that exact thing, like how
You just do all the things that Marten does?
I was like, he'll blow up soon. Oh no, I'm blowing up. This isn't how this is supposed to go. I think obviously you have to say Marten. I mean, not to pump up your tyres too much, Marten, sitting across from you, but it's been pretty impressive what you've done this season. Sort of consistent, in and out, winning 3 and getting second in the other. It was pretty incredible. And also obviously Yella coming in as well was a wild card. Was pretty impressive to do what he did in Vegas. It's just been, I think the T100, to be honest, has just been, as a viewer of the sport as much as someone that's been in it, I think it's been exciting racing.
Yeah, the standard's been high and we've seen some pretty good battles. Ash, what about you?
Yeah, same. It's you're going to be pumping up your tyres a bit, I'm sure, Taylor. But yeah, 4 from 4, like it's kind of hard to beat. Just and the way that you were able to dominate is just pretty impressive, especially I guess coming from the Olympics too. I mean, no one wrote you off though. Everyone knew that you're going to come here and do super well. So yeah, it's also mentally tough when you can see, or mentally tough for the rest of us when we can see how dominant you are, and then we know we have to start next year.
Well, I would say Saturday, like, I was not comfortable for any second of the race, and I was just like, the way you were racing, and it was every time you come around the U-turn, and you were there, like right there, and it was like, I'm like, oh god, it's not growing, like I have no gap, and just like knowing how well you run in the heat, perform in the heat, and just, it's very impressive, and in general, so I would say Saturday's performance, probably.
A lot of love around this table, hey?
Absolutely, absolutely. And talking of this table, I mean, I think something that's changed a little bit in the T100 is the whole media coverage, how it's been portrayed. I think racing is now no longer being shown, you know, on tiny little black and white screens. It feels like it's come to color. It feels like the action's being packed. I'd love to know your impression as athletes, right? Because we get to see it, we get to see you, we get to comment and commentate and see these images around the world. Have you felt an impact on how the whole media game has changed around the T100? Anyone who would like. Welcome to bounce off each other. Take this wherever you like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole package too, right? Like, I mean, probably a lot of the people just see the broadcast, but they don't see, I mean, what's going on behind the scenes. And, you know, like, it's pretty impressive the amount of effort and energy and, you know, backing they put throughout the year for us as well, coming out to film us for days at a time, and, you know, I guess hype us up as athletes as well, and then, you know, yourselves in commentary as well, doing, I'd say, a fabulous job. So
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed a lot of momentum, just say going back to Australia. A lot of people who I didn't really think would be fans of triathlon at all, they're just average people, maybe watch some other sports. They've definitely kind of started to watch triathlon because the accessibility and ease of like watching the T100 series. All they have to do is kind of go onto YouTube and it's right there. So
Yeah.
I mean, I find that really great because I know a lot of people who have started watching it, and then they've started swimming again. They haven't swum since high school.
Wow.
They've started exercise. I know like quite a lot of people who have done that, and I guess that makes me feel really good about what T100's doing, because
It's a legacy effect, right?
Exactly, and they've been able to see this and maybe follow me and some other people they might start becoming fans of, and then they get inspired to try it again. So there's plenty of new triathletes coming up because they can see and follow the race really easy, and that's a pretty good fall-on effect from just the accessibility of the broadcast.
And do you think that's also because we're getting to see the best of the best face off week in, week out? I mean, as an athlete, that's a bit of a love-hate thing, right? You would love it. Sometimes it would just be nice to have an easy one every now and then, just to get a few free points on the board. But that's not happening here, right? You guys see each other every time. A few tactical decisions, of course, like you said, Singapore made sense for you to come from Australia rather than add another trip. But barring that, we've seen the best racing that was normally reserved to one-day world championships. Like, how do you feel about, the rivalry building up and people showing up every single weekend?
Yeah, I think that's honestly really, really cool, and that's what T100 is really changing for us as athletes. That it's not about one day in the year, but we're actually faces that come back. And I hope that the people also, when they follow it, we're kind of becoming more characters in this sport, and that's combined then with the good media, being live on television and YouTube. That makes us feel a little bit like stars, we feel appreciated as athletes, and I think that's something really cool, and something that a lot of guys want to be part of.
For you, Taylor, I think this series has really elevated you in a social media context. I think you've been a star of triathlon now for a few years, but the interviews that we're seeing with you, the more time that people get to see you online. There is a huge Taylor fan club now. Are you feeling that? Are you feeling that there are more people who know you and want to talk to you and want to support you and are sending you nice messages before and after races?
Not really, but that kind of worries me because I like to stay kind of a little more hidden and like quiet.
You're not
just
hidden
like
anymore.
Offline. Like I love the week after a T100 race where it's like I just don't need to think about that anymore. It's like the week is just full on.
Yeah.
But I wonder over the course of the year, like if you looked back at the beginning of the year, how each athlete does in their interviews, because like it's a skill, and so if we get to do it 4 to 6 times a year, are we getting better?
Well, I think people really feel
Forever
like
looking for the improvements. Forever looking for.
It's not where I would have looked at it.
she's training for interviews now.
It is a mindset,
Yes, it's a mindset.
a muscle to flex, and then yeah. There you go.
It's been interesting, like, to see the opposite of that too, like the effect of having such a concentrated race schedule. Like, I mean, we've seen some athletes, you know, do really well, Marten, and I guess I put myself in that as well, but trying to perform for 12 months. But we also see some athletes, and it's no reflection on the athlete themselves, but really underperforming this season. And that's also, you know, across the T100, but also across the whole sport as a you know, across the Ironman series, people who are chasing races week in, week out, and maybe they're on the back foot, so they, you know, take a couple more risks in that next training block and try and catch up. And somehow, yeah, I think it's been quite interesting to see the effects of training so hard all year.
That season-long narrative that we've got now in T100, that having to perform from March through to November, that is unique now in middle distance race. We've not, it's new. We've not had that before, right? But all of you athletes here have either or still do race in short course racing, and that is built in the same way. Do you think that was an advantage to you to kind of understand that you've got to measure your level across a whole season? Anyone could go for that.
Yeah, I think, like, I mean, for me, it was like I never had actually T100 on my radar this year. And so when we were planning the season, it was more like, okay, we're just going to keep committing to the process, keep committing to, you know, and I got to a point in March and April, where I was really itchy to race because I'd been training super well over the winter in New Zealand. And yeah, I was just, and that was a massive lesson for me. It's, okay, I just need to do the process week in, week out, not chase anything, just let it come to me, and then when I'm itchy to race, and then hopefully you time that right.
I like that, itchy to race.
Time it right to be on the start line when that happens.
Brilliant.
Thinking about your interview that you gave early on in the year, you said something along the lines that you didn't think you deserved to have a ticket. And here you are as one of the guys who has delivered the most exciting racing. Looking ahead in the future, who do you think, if you could choose one person, should be there, deserves a ticket, deserves a shot? I think anyone deserves a shot, obviously, but if there's one person that you would choose,
I know who you're going to say.
Deep down, I'm not sure I really want to race this person, but who should we add?
Yeah, whoever you're thinking, don't say it. No, I'm joking.
That's the real answer.
Yeah. No, your fake answers only.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's like, yeah, I didn't deserve a contract this year. I think this should be reserved for the 20 best athletes in the world, and I wasn't one of them last year, and that's just a fact. So yeah, and I knew that
Carl Smith coming in hot at 21, or what's the...
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, coming in, I think I was like 50th ranked at the start of the year, so it's like I was quite a way out. I knew when I might be given an opportunity this year that I'd really take it with open arms, and when I got the opportunity for Singapore, I was like, I'm not going to waste this. And I think there was next year there's also going to be more races, so there's going to be, I guess, more wildcards and more opportunities, and so I think there's going to be a lot of athletes next year. I can, in the men's field alone, I can't count on both hands who those athletes would be. But yeah, I think we're going to see a big influx of the Olympic athletes coming in. Obviously, Haydo,
Bingo,
one of my best mates, is scary to think about. But to be honest with you, that's just sport, and we all have to, like with Marten, we all have to go away now and try and up our game to match.
There you go. Any other wishes of people you'd love to see on the tour that you think would add some kind of spice, or you just quite happy with the way it is, and you'll let everyone come to you.
Well, I think you have to want it. Like, you could see someone and like see them racing in a different distance or format or whatever, and you're like, oh wow, you'd be so good at that, like T100. But like, if you don't want to come here, it's like, I think it's harder to put out your best performance. So.
Do you think there's a factor of intimidation there as well? Like seeing the best of the best go head to head every weekend, that people would be like, well, you know, I'm quite good at this kind of distance or this kind of format. Yeah, I don't think mentally I'm ready to step into the lion's den.
But if you're racing the World Triathlon Series, I think you're doing the same thing and walking that walk. So it's kind of different. And if you have like other dreams and goals and aspirations, then you might have to follow, or you might be following a different path for a period of time.
Yeah.
Any other names that either of you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I saw a good friend of mine along the line yesterday called Vincent Lewis. So I really hope that he can be part of this. You know, like he's been such a legend in the short distance, and I think he's really excited to give it a go. And I mean, I'm sure that he will put a lot of pressure and pain on us as well. So I think he would be a very fitting guy, and I would really love to race him over this distance. Hopefully, he's not as dominant over me as he was in the short distance. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I think that him, Hayden, like there's just a couple of names that really have like big potential on this distance. And yeah, it would be cool if we could have all of them to race, even though it's only going to make it more difficult to take one of those wins.
Vincent Louis, you'd give Sam Laidlaw a real run for his money for coolest cat of the sport. Like, honestly, I mean,
so,
doesn't get much cooler than those two dudes. So. Any thoughts you have? Any potential athletes that you see that you'd be like, oh yeah, I think that'd be exciting.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty. I think when I'm thinking particularly of short course athletes, I mean, a lot of the women that are doing really well there and at the Olympics, I mean, I kind of see them focusing on LA. Some of them, like Kassan and Beth Potter and, well, I guess Julie has come across and done exceptionally well, obviously, from a wild card being a short course athlete. But like Taylor said, I think you do have to want it. It is very different. I mean, when you are in the World Series, I guess, yeah, you're with kind of your federation, and depending like which federation you are, it is sometimes quite easy. You kind of just say you want to go somewhere and you might be able to go somewhere and a lot of it's kind of worked out for you. But before you even kind of get to middle distance racing with the T100, there is a lot of like logistics and you are very independent. So I guess that kind of changes the game in some aspects too. But I guess a lot of the well-established athletes are very used to that anyway. It's probably more some of the up-and-coming younger athletes that might just need a shot or a sniff of it, and then they'll figure it out. But yeah, it might take time because it is just a kind of different process to your normal short course racing. But it'll be interesting. I think there's a big effect of some younger athletes that don't just see short course as the option now. They actually see, as a younger athlete, middle distance a viable option to go straight into, because I think it used to be like you have to do short course first, a shorter distance, then you work your way up to middle distance, and then maybe even you'll do Ironman. But I think now there's so many youngsters that see all what's on offer and be like, I can do anything. And I think that's really cool.
And it's attractive. It's an attractive option, right? This is cool. People want to be involved in this now. And it always, as you said, Ash, historically was short course was for the young guns. And then as you got older, you moved on to the middle distance and the long distance. And I think now there's a lot of athletes in their early 20s. Like, look at Rico Bogan. He's always been in middle distance. Like, he's done that from a young age. And I think that's exciting for who we're going to get, the talent we're going to get into T100 in the next year or two.
Yeah, and that's also, I think, much of your doing, right? I mean, you've been around, you've toured the world, you've done the whole national circuit, gone around federation. You speak to it, and then is it the independence? What do you think it is that made you come here and just excel and just be like the best version and just be like going around the world, winning the biggest races? You know, people always come out and they see someone winning and it feels like, oh, well, just showed up. Never mind the other 10, the decade that precedes it. And the struggles that come with it. Is that kind of what has made you as an athlete here?
Yeah, I think if someone just said like, oh, she just come in and just started winning, I'm like, mate, like have a look at look at the last 15 years, please, before you make that kind of statement. I mean, that's insulting. Because, yeah, I mean, 2019 was by far my most challenging ever year as a triathlete. And then we went into very heavy lockdowns in Australia. So like, for 3 years, I was like a very depressed triathlete. And then I came out and I raced in Miami and Oceanside because I'm like, let's just try and collect some points to try and get on to the first PTO race in Edmonton. So I travelled super early to Miami. There was some very big dramas in the travel and logistics, which I won't go into, but I got enough points and I got onto the start of PTO Edmonton. So I had like my chance.
Ever.
The first ever PTO 100k race. And I remember just thinking like, wow, this is like 3 years in the making, it seems. I've been itching to get back out there. And my Olympic experience in particular was so bad. I literally thought to myself, like, I'm never going to be as humiliated as I was in Tokyo. So, like, I literally have nothing to lose. And I haven't been nervous or anxious since coming across to this racing. Like, nothing, like, rattles me anymore because, I mean, I feel like I've experienced the lowest lows possible, that, like, nothing can be worse than that. So, like, nothing can really shake me that much. And it's been amazing. I feel like I go into each race and, like, I have nothing to lose. This is, like, a bonus part of my career, but it's been the most enjoyable and most rewarding few years, literally, of my life. So it's been great.
It's an incredible story, isn't it? And
Some perspective for you?
yeah, I think so. The lowest of lows to the highest of highs. And something I saw online this week was from Paula Finlay, actually talking about how, while she had a disappointing race by her own standards this weekend, she said the highlight of the whole series for her has been the unity that you guys have as a group of athletes now, because you are racing each other so frequently, you're traveling together, you're seeing each other so much more often than maybe you would have done before we had the T100 series. And she mentioned not just the athletes, but their partners, their teams that come with it. Would you say that's something that you've really enjoyed this season as well, and it's been different from what we've ever had before?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's kind of like sometimes a bit hard to get into like race mentality when you're sort of...
Because you're hanging out with your mates.
And yeah, I don't think there's a bad egg amongst us, you know? Like, it's just a nice vibe all week, and then you sort of like get to race morning, you're like, I gotta switch on now, there's a lot at stake. Yeah, so it's really nice. It's nice to come to a race, and often they can be pretty long weeks when you're just sitting in a hotel room waiting for, you know, Sunday. And so when you're surrounded by even you guys and the crew and stuff, it's really nice.
Well, I think it would be amiss of us, before we let you go, to not mention our two freshly baked world champions. Honestly, it's the weirdest thing that came to my mind. Winner, chicken dinner. And I think that may be the truest description of how you might have gone and celebrated a world title. Is that an accurate description? You just go and, you know, you go out for your normal dinner, your normal nutrition, you go and get on with it, and you look at what can be done better, and then it's like, well, tomorrow I've got to do this. You seem very much process orientated, but have you had a moment to reflect and just be like, first ever T100 world champion? I mean, this is kind of a bit of a moon landing for our sport. We're all very excited for you. Can you share any of that excitement, or is it just about the process for you?
I'm not sure. I think you probably nailed it, but you asked me in the elevator yesterday morning, like, how does it feel waking up as world champion? So that doesn't really like cross my mind at all. Yes, so it's just like, yeah, I really appreciated that I had training put in yesterday and training put in today. So I love opening up Training Peaks and going about the day. But I think that's why I enjoy the sport so much.
Love it. Chicken for dinner then.
It was steak, but...
There we go. Just doesn't rhyme as well. Marten, maybe we could finish off with you just describing the journey of, I don't know how many 6 a.m. swim clubs, sessions in the rain. PM for you,
Night
maybe.
owl.
You know the pool in Girona isn't open at 6
that's a
in the
good
morning.
point. But I mean, throughout your career, it's not just Girona. You've only moved to Girona in the last few years.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming, and a way to etch your name into the history books in the whole journey of the ups and downs. Like, is there anything that really stands out to you that you're like, oh, I wish I would have done this, or I could have done this differently? Or are you really at a point where you're like, you know what, all the highs, all the lows, it was all worth it. I'm a world champion.
Well, yeah, now it seems like it's all worth it again. But I have to say that I had maybe a bit of a similar experience to what Ash was just saying about kind of coming from my lowest lows, like having a really good 2021 and the Olympics were really good. And then having 2022 and 23, I think in the end I didn't run for like 7-8 months. And for me, training as well is just what I love to do. I'm a professional, but if not, it would still be my hobby anyway. So not being able to run for that long of a period was really, really difficult. And I really started doubting if I could ever come back to the level I had before that, because 2021 was my best year so far. 2022, 23, really a struggle. And then, now I feel like I'm really back and maybe better than ever. And I learned a lot from it, because I do feel that on short course, although it was always going to be difficult for me because I was maybe not the fastest runner, I do feel that I didn't really fulfill my potential there, that I wasted a lot of opportunities, that I was maybe in some things too unprofessional and stuff. And I feel that's actually now more of a benefit, because I'm really, really eager and hungry for this distance, even though I've already been in the sport for a while. I'm not that young anymore, unfortunately. People think I'm very young because I'm new to this distance, but I'm 31, so...
I think it's your skin, man.
yeah, and I have 10 more years. No, you won one on 41, no? So, no, like I'm just, I think that those lows, like, even though maybe they're not worth it, especially not when you're in the moment, because it impacts your whole life. Like now, obviously, it is what shaped me, and it is what brings out that hunger now, and like the will to keep pushing in training every single day, even though I've already been doing that same thing for 15 years of pushing myself every single day for like 3 sessions a day, early mornings, late nights more for me actually. But
Yeah.
Well, now you have a title to defend.
yeah, that's
The
true.
defense begins now.
A target on my back. So I actually had chicken dinner.
There you go.
It
Winner, winner,
was a
chicken dinner. We've
barbecue
got
chicken
one.
pizza though, so probably offending all my Italian fans. But
As long as you didn't put pineapple on it, I think they're okay.
there was no pineapple.
There
yeah,
you
no.
go. So I think to sum it up, we've had an amazing season. I think our athletes speak volumes as to how much it's worth pursuing, insisting, just keep knocking on the door, keep showing up. You know all about it. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited about next season and where we're going, the racing.
Let's get going in
Seeing
2025.
you guys fire it up. I know that's probably the last thing you want to hear right now, but let's go and enjoy a great off season.
We'll see you next year.
You guys save your legs. We'll try and get our voices back, shouting for you. Let's go
been
to
a pleasure, guys.
T100.
You going to be on start line next year, Vicky?
Absolutely not.
Were you hoping that we'd say we want you to have a wild
No, that would have been shocking. And I would have said thank you, but no. I like talking about you guys now. It's easier.
Wonderful, guys. Safe travels home. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks for coming up and making time for us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Well done. Well done.